Hey, you. Do you want to watch a movie and fall asleep before it's over?
Yes.
Should we do the dishes so we have clean ones for tomorrow?
Oh yeah, girl, keep talking.
Do you want to go to bed at 8:30?
Ew, no. 7:45.
Stop.
Hey, fun fans, it's We Enjoy, the last of the Brohicans here. We have the Mattitude Eric, Matt Fowler. Say hello, Eric Goldman.
Hello, everybody. How's it going?
Hey, Eric, stay alive no matter what occurs. I will find you.
That line was like iconic before the movie even came out because of the trailer.
Yep, because of the trailers. I saw that trailer as many times as I saw the menu trailer. Eric,
I saw that trailer a lot. I do remember that was like a oft-played trailer. Yeah,
it did not sour me on the movie though when I saw it. So we're going to be talking about Last of the Mohicans in the main event today. We are doing a pick'em, a one for you get one, I get one. We're picking off each other's good things to enjoy list over the past 2 years, and trying to, I guess, pick movies that either we haven't seen that the other one recommended or haven't seen in a while, which is the case with Eric Goldman today and Last of the Mohicans. When is the last time you saw Last of the Mohicans?
I think it's been over 20 years, because I remembered very little. We'll talk, obviously, when we get to it about the things that I definitely did remember, but a lot of the minutia I had forgotten. So I got to experience.
Did you remember
even though I saw the movie several times in the 90s?
Okay, so it wasn't just once.
No,
Did
no,
you remember?
I saw in the theater several times. I remember that. Yeah.
Emily Blunt's side boob from this movie. Do you remember that? Curtis writes in on Patreon. I had a good laugh when Eric casually recapped Emily Blunt's side boob during the Wolfman talk. Back when I watched the Wolfman during its theatrical run, a friend of mine asked if there was any nudity. Not really, I replied. Side boob? She asked. And thus, that's one of probably the three things I remembered about the Wolfman.
There you go.
All right. And you too can write into us on Patreon. If you are a Patreon patron of ours, we have a very uncreatively named lower tier where you can get ad-free content, and a more creatively named upper tier, upper echelon, where you can get ad-free content plus bonus episodes like the Andor breakout episode and the Guardians of the Galaxy holiday special we just did. And so if you are a Hudson Hawk on Patreon, you can get those. Eric, I am in the midst of madcap, maddening, moving madness.
Yeah.
Moving's terrible. Don't ever do it ever again. Well, I mean, I know we've done it. It's in the past, sure. And we're trying not to live with any regrets, but don't ever do it again. How about that? Just everyone stay put. Everyone stay put.
I don't think I can promise that.
Damn it.
I mean, I'm not looking to do it anytime soon, that's for sure. But...
That's good. As long as it's far off in the horizon. But I'm settling in here. I'm in Frisco, Texas. I've got a nice park nearby. Lots of families and doggos and everything, and it's really nice. And my internet, knock on wood, still seems to be holding up pretty well. I've got all systems running at this house, except things are in boxes, and it's driving me fucking crazy. So I will get through this and then try to go to sleep and not think about all the things I have to do in the house to get it into a suitable place for me to have psychic peace. Okay. You are off to Orlando this week, correct?
I am off to Orlando, yes.
So that is why, everyone, we are recording this on a Monday night. So yeah, if things break later this week news-wise, we will not be getting to them. We were going to be talking, our dork news coming up is really trailer-heavy again, except for some sad news that just happened today, just an hour or two ago, which is the passing of Kirstie Alley. An actress who's we've enjoyed in many a comedy and even a sci-fi endeavor here or there, who's also maybe not as admirable for being a Scientologist and her politics, but
I mean, for going full MAGA and anti-vax.
Yeah, I'm just saying, or like not appearing on Frasier because it was about psychiatry, and so
that's right.
Anyway, but growing up, we did enjoy her immensely in Wrath of Khan, Runaway, Summer School, Cheers, and even, and I enjoyed these as a youngling. The Look Who's Talking movies.
Certainly, the first one was really funny and a huge hit. Really talented and like got a really unique, really cool voice, really cool presence. A thankless job coming into Cheers, replacing such a beloved character and actress, and did it. And like
that was crazy. Yeah, not many people can do that ever. Yeah,
right. The fact that the writers were wise and didn't try to replicate Diane, and she was great with like what she brought to it. And then the show ran for years, and she won an Emmy. So yeah, she was like great and part of a lot of great stuff that I have very fond memories of growing up. I was thinking, Matt, how there's a lot of a lot of talk about how wouldn't we be better off without social media, and one reason amongst many that we're all addicted to it. By the way, I know
I wouldn't have to know what Kevin Sorbo thinks about things.
That's the thing. It's like we wouldn't really have this. Like you might hear in passing, oh, they have crappy politics or they crappy beliefs, but we wouldn't like be inundated with it. We wouldn't see in real time these people saying awful things that make it like a weirder thing when they pass away, because you still want to acknowledge, hey, that like this person did a great work in things and they were special to me at a certain time in my life, but we know so much about their horrible beliefs, and that's a tricky thing that social media kind of puts this spotlight on.
Which is why I admire more and more stars who I'm pretty sure lean to the ugly side of politics, who don't say shit. Like I'm forever thankful that Kurt Russell never gives a political interview. Or else we wouldn't do a Kurt Russell marathon probably.
Because they are wise at a certain point. There is a wiseness to them. Yeah. Realizing maybe I don't.
Maybe I don't need to. Maybe these thoughts can just stay in my head and they don't have to come out of my mouth.
So it's like one of those things where it's like a weird thing because like people are already gonna surface and more of it'll happen of some truly reprehensible things she tweeted. That doesn't take away the fact that she was part of a lot of entertainment for many of us, and did great work in it. So,
question: I am not a massive Trekkie. I don't think you're a massive Trekkie either, but maybe you know about the character Kim Cattrall plays in the what was it? Star Trek 6. What was that called though? The Final Frontier. It was not.
No, that's Undiscovered Country.
It was called the Undiscovered Country, which was supposed to be originally conceived to be the Vulcan character Kirstie Alley played in Wrath of Khan.
Yes.
Right. And for whatever reason, she didn't come back, or they didn't want her to come back. But I also know that in the 80s, she had a huge cocaine addiction.
Well, I actually, Matt, you know less than I even think you know about Star Trek.
No, that doesn't surprise me at all.
Okay, because you're skipping over the fact that character returned in Star Trek 3 and 4, played by
recast, right,
by Robin Curtis. And yes, Star Trek 6, which is a really good Star Trek movie, has this weird thing of spoiler alert for Star Trek 6, guys, of a trusted Vulcan betraying Spock, heel turn, but we just met her. It was supposed to be a character we'd seen in 3 other movies, and it would have been like a much more weighty
because
thing,
she comes into this movie with a big backstory and a relationship with Spock, like an admiration, and it seems like they knew each other, and it works for the movie, but like, it would have been better if it was more the legacy character. But wasn't she didn't return to the other Star Trek movies? I think I just got it all mixed up, which is the fact that not that she didn't return for Undiscovered Countries, but she didn't return for the actual direct sequels to Wrath of Khan because of her drug addiction.
I can't tell you that part for sure, but it was the 80s, Matt. So sure, it's a great possibility that that was a contributing factor.
All right.
But certainly by the late 80s, that's when like Kirstie Alley really like had this career explosion, because 87 she joins Cheers. And then, they, very fruitful and strong, run there for quite a while.
So. Speaking of strong runs, Mike Flanagan was a force on Netflix, and very surprising.
One of the things I would hold up as Netflix is more and more something I don't look at as like something I watch a lot, or something I hold up as like, oh, Netflix is great. The annual Flanagan show was like something I would be like, but there's an annual Flanagan show.
The Flanial again. It's like Stranger Things, Flanagan, and then you can point to like maybe Bridgerton,
Cobra Kai,
a few other things that get our juices flowing for Netflix, which is sort of an arid desert when compared to some of the other streaming services. Now, here's the thing. They also created a hub for Flanagan. Like they have like the Flanagan family where you can like if you can hunt it down, like you can find all of his stuff just sort of nestled within one place. Now, he just signed an overall TV deal with Amazon, he and his producing partner, which was very surprising as far as because Flanagan's been so Netflix centric, not just the haunting shows that sort of put him on the map, but also his past projects that were housed there as well, like Hush and Oculus and some other of his earlier films.
Oculus wasn't made for.
No, it wasn't made for it, but I mean, like I had it. So,
but Gerald's Game was made for Netflix.
It was an actual Netflix exclusive.
Yeah,
and so it seemed like it was just Netflix was like the House of Flanagan, and the fact that when Midnight Club came out, which was already sort of a decidedly different project for Flanagan, even though it was horror, it was Christopher Pike based. It was sort of like YA horror, and not in a bad way. I'm not saying that as a disparaging thing at all. It's actually great, and I really enjoyed Midnight Club. It was very interesting when it launched that it was hard to find on the homepage. Like it wasn't prominent, and he was even tweeting out about that. It's like, is anyone having trouble finding Midnight Club? And this was on launch day.
Right.
And I don't know what was circling with the deal that was going on at this point, but it doesn't. It surprises me that Midnight Club didn't get a season 2. Now, for those who haven't watched Midnight Club, it is set up to have. There are cliffhangers. There is more story. Yeah. I went into it watching it not knowing that it wasn't a closed end thing because
I know you're not alone. I knew it was supposed to be continuing, but I know you're very much not alone, Matt.
Well, also because like his other projects,
because the expectations,
yeah,
and off his others.
And so when I watched the finale, I was like, oh, there's more to tell. And then it got canceled, which not surprising for Netflix, but surprising for a Netflix Flanagan project. But then when you maybe looking a little deeper into the context of like them actually signing a whole new deal with Amazon. I don't know if it was done out of spite or not. Midnight Club seemed like it was.
I don't think so. Like we should say the timing was, it was announced he had a new deal with Amazon, and within hours, some trades were like Midnight Club is canceled. I don't think it was like Netflix is like, screw him, cancel it. I think it probably all.
I don't think it happened right then. I think it was like
knew,
over the past couple months. They knew he was leaving and all that stuff. And so
because people had tweeted me, and I'm sorry to the person who tweeted me this, and I didn't answer you, but then a few hours later we had our answer, unfortunately, which is someone said, "Oh no!" When the news broke that he was signing with Amazon, someone tweeted me going, "Oh no, does this mean bad news for Midnight Club?" And what I was gonna tweet back to them until I didn't get around to it, and then we found out it was canceled a few hours, like 4 hours later, is it doesn't mean they have to cancel it. Look, shows keep going after the creators sign deals elsewhere. I mean, Shonda Rhimes famously has been at Netflix for years, has actively left Grey's Anatomy. She still gets money for Grey's Anatomy because she's the creator and EP, but they still renew the show because it's not like she has to stay on for them to renew it. However, I did think Midnight Club didn't have a big shot because it was very low buzz on it.
Yeah, I just feel like Flanagan also kind of like you can't have a Flanagan show and have Flanagan leave. It was sort of like it's a little different than a Shonda. But he got to do a Christopher Pike show. That doesn't mean that on Amazon he can't do other Christopher Pike things. Midnight Club was an interesting collection because it was a Christopher Pike-like story that pulled from other Christopher Pike stories, because within the actual
the Midnight Club itself
they are
is
telling
a Christopher Pike story.
It is, but then like the stories they're telling
stories,
on the show are actual other Christopher Pike stories. So he's gotten to do a lot of Stephen King stuff, and now his other favorite author, Christopher Pike, so he got to do that. So we should just say, interestingly enough, his tweet about this, about how bummed he was it wasn't returning, was paired with a Tumblr post, which actually brought me back to Tumblr for the first time since that site banned butts, which is that he went out and laid out everything he had planned at this point. Not everything was filled in because that was what the writer's room was for.
They hadn't actually written the scripts,
what he wanted to do with these characters in season 2, and like answered the cliffhanger questions, talked about what the journeys are for most of the remaining characters, and like what some of the Christopher Pike stories that were going to be used and stuff like that. And so For those who want to know what was going to be, you can check out his Tumblr post. If not, those who want to keep it don't want to know because then it's real that it's canceled. And like because once you read it, you're like, oh well, he can't make it now. He just told us everything that's going to happen.
And it, the chances of it being, this is the devil's bargain these days, because of course we're now in the era of, can someone else save it? Can Amazon save it? And it's like, probably not, because Netflix produced this show. It's not like Sony producing Cobra Kai and they can kind of shop it elsewhere. Netflix was the one making it from the get-go, makes it way trickier and very, very unlikely to continue. Now, look, I love Mike Flanagan. I'm a huge fan of his. I love almost everything he's done. Midnight Club was my least favorite of his shows he's done for Netflix. I liked it. It just didn't hit me as hard as the other ones did, but when it did hit me good. However, reading this description season 2, there was some stuff that I was like, that sounds awesome. That sounds really cool. And I also want to say, I think it's great he did that, even though I don't feel like that's like, you have to do that. Like I mentioned.
No. Most creators don't do that.
A lot of creators don't want to. A big one that stands out is Josh Friedman, because Terminator: Sarah Connor Chronicles ended on such a huge game-changing note. And he's very adamantly been like, I don't want to say what I was going to do. And I totally respect that. But this was a completely other way to go. I guess he promised it when the show premiered. He said, if they cancel it, I'll tweet out what was going to happen.
Okay.
But I thought that was great too. And it was.
I will say this, that sometimes I would think creators, maybe because there might be some things that they're excited about and stuff they don't get to do, that they could repurpose into something else. You know what I mean? Like maybe Josh Friedman or anyone else who like has a show canceled is like, hey, that's good, but maybe I can actually work into a different story.
Because sometimes that, people, writers have talked about that. Hey, I had this idea that never made it. And so it ended up being, turned into something else.
But Mike Flanagan is like, nope, this is just Midnight Club. I'm not a ranker like you, Eric, not doing the ranking of like, so I don't know that this, I would say that this, I would categorize this as least favorite Flanagan, but it was the most different, obviously, and it provided me with different feelings, different emotion, and a different experience, and I appreciated that. Okay.
Oh yeah, same. And it's a shame like to not have that on Netflix, but their loss, Amazon gain. Except of course, I also realized, taking a step back, like why did they let him go? Like we know Netflix. You look at the Knives Out sequels, where Netflix like wildly overbid for 2 sequels to Knives Out.
I know.
But still, those days do seem to be dissipating a little bit more. They're a little bit more trying to be like a little bit, some trepidation. And also, they did these mega deals a few years ago. And Flanagan's not one of the people I'm talking about here. These like $200 to $500 million deals they did with people like Ryan Murphy
and Shonda Rhimes.
Shonda Rhimes paid off much quicker. Ryan Murphy had a few movie shows that seemed to kind of fall flat, and now this year, Dahmer, and The Watcher to a lesser extent seem to finally like found that. But again, I think that the Flanagan shows have done well for them, but it doesn't seem like they're the level of like Dahmer. So I think they in 2022 Netflix probably let him go in a way that 2020, maybe even last year's Netflix might not have.
I don't know.
But another company had deep pockets.
I'm glad it's not my job to figure out how to get actual new subscribers to a streaming service that's been around for a decade. So, like, like who at this point doesn't have Netflix is going to see something coming to Netflix and finally cave,
right,
and be like, all right, that got me.
Right. I don't know.
It's going to be Murder Mystery 2 or what else is coming to Netflix? I just did a whole piece. Whatever. Okay. Let's talk about all these trailers that we saw because of Brazil Comic Con.
Which, when this episode goes up, these are all going to be a week old.
I don't care. Yeah, I don't care. Well, I mean, we want to talk about Dial of Destiny, so don't turn that dial, folks. We're going to Destiny it in with Indiana Jones.
Just acknowledging it.
Dial of Destiny. So excited for this movie. The trailer was very, sentimental and well made and well crafted. And I had no idea that this movie, and to its benefit, is going to involve what looks to be a lot of flashbacks to a younger Indiana Jones in adventures we hadn't known about. Still fighting the Nazis because it seems like from the plot description, a villain from his past, a former Nazi or once a Nazi, always a Nazi, as this movie sort of addresses the Project Paperclip of it all,
Mhm.
is part of now America's space race team, played by Mads Mikkelsen, this character. But this is someone that Indiana Jones once met and battled with and clashed with when he was a Nazi during World War II. And there is some really great, again, can't be the full judge of it because it's a trailer and it's just quick clips, really great de-aging stuff going on here in some of these scenes. So, but yeah, the whole framing of this movie and how it looks to be structured seems really exciting, because here's the thing. I really want Harrison Ford playing Indiana Jones. The dude does not move well these days. Like, so as we're already going to be getting very obvious stunt performers, and that's fine. Like even watching the trailer for the Yellowstone show he's in, he just does not move well. Even if when he lifts his arm to hold a gun, it doesn't, he's old. He's old. The guy's old. Okay.
Let him be old.
So the fact that they are taking it back to the adventures of a younger Indiana Jones, the Indiana Jones we knew from say Last Crusade era, I think is really fascinating. And
but here's where I say you might be wrong.
Okay, go for it.
Well, so I guess you missed. So Empire magazine, which had a big cover story in Indiana Jones, and was doing that thing where they're kind of putting out piecemeal a lot of factoids. So they put out that she's his goddaughter and a bunch of stuff. But they also were the ones that put out that this movie's opening sequence is young Indiana Jones, or Indiana Jones as we knew him, with really impressive de-aging technology.
Okay, so it's not going to go back and forth.
It's not the whole movie, implying it might be a 15-minute sequence at the beginning of the movie. Now that might not be true. It might not only be that. There might be some other flashbacks.
It could be, but most likely it is. But I still like the idea that there is, because one of the big bummers about there are several big bummers about Crystal Skull, but one of them was the skipping over of so much of Indiana Jones's life, and then we just heard that he was a war hero at this point, and it's there's trying to even and this is in the opening part of the movie, wrap your head around the fact that this guy we followed for 3 movies as an archaeologist, adventurer, teacher, joined up and was actively part of the military,
right,
and a decorated soldier,
took orders.
Because the thing is everything we've seen about World War II is absolutely atrocity filled. Mm-hmm. And so the Indiana Jones adventures weren't, they were macabre adventure, swashbuckling style, good time in the movie theater. And then I was God, was he part of D-Day? That looks so terrible in Private Ryan. What, trying to do that. But it was also kind of God, Indiana Jones had this whole weird life that seemingly didn't involve any of the treasure hunting or tomb raiding that we saw in the first 3 movies. And his life shifted completely.
Right.
And that was really strange. So this one was hey, here's him actually battling Nazis, but it used to be, what we're used to, feeling in the old Indiana Jones movies.
Yeah. And during, I think they say that the flashback is 1944. So during World War II, I don't know if they're going to retcon themselves, but or
I mean, he could be in the army. He could be. This could be after the war just ended, or when did it ended in 44 or 45? 45. Okay, so it's still the war. Okay. Yeah. Well, you see Mads dressed in full Nazi officer uniform.
Well, he's dressed just like Toth from Raiders.
Well, it's interesting because he's got the glasses too, so that people are wondering if there was a connection.
Yeah. Well, I thought because the costume was on display at Star Wars Celebration. No, I'm sorry, D23 at the Lucasfilm booth, and with no explanation. So I didn't even know. I didn't think it was Matt Mikkelsen's costume. I thought it was a costume from Raiders. Oh, yeah. I just saw this black coat and these hat and glasses. So now I'm oh, okay. Either it's we're just we're dressing him like his first villain because we're going full circle, or there'll be a direct connection, or it's just Nazis.
I mean, his name isn't Todd, so but that doesn't mean anything because maybe he's his brother. Maybe they're doing a Simon Gruber here. You know what I mean? Die Hard. Anyway, I'm excited for that. James Mangold directed it, and he's done some really cool things. It's the first. It's interesting to be to feel your heart swell over a non-Spielberg Indiana Jones movie.
Mhm.
That this is they're not pairing up for this one, but maybe it's for the best at this point.
I mean,
at this point,
I'm open to it. Yeah, this was a version of the trailer they showed us at D23, but it was structured the same, but just there was stuff they held back, like the goddaughter line. I think there was a tiny glimpse of a flashback, but you saw a lot more here. And yeah, this looks really fun.
all right. Last of Us, Eric. Actually, let's go into another movie first. Let's do Last of Us last because it's a TV show. Guardians Volume 3. Something we saw a version of this trailer at San Diego Comic-Con.
Well, we saw a totally
this past
different
summer.
trailer. I think there was like 2 shots that were the same, honestly.
Oh, I don't remember the shots. I
just remember
some of the
Little
similar
Rocket.
Shots.
Like I just feel like Little Rocket was like.
I remember Peter crying too.
Okay.
Yeah, I remember a lot of that. I think it's a similar scene, but most notably, the song was changed. And the song we heard this past summer was Do You Realize by the Flaming Lips, which worked really well and is obviously also geared to make you cry, which James Gunn said was in the movie. So that I can't tell you if Space Hogs in the meantime is going to be.
I bet it is.
But it still worked. It really worked really well for the trailer. Also because it does the thing I love. You know, I love it, Eric, when they take the song and they orchestrate it and sort of blend it, weave it into what sounds like could be a score. Like you still hear remnants of the song, but also it's mixed with the actual movie music as well. And I really like that. When was In the Meantime? That wasn't that was
95?
earlier. I was going to say that was in the 90s, not in the aughts, right?
Yeah. But he has a Zune, so yeah, he's got 90s music.
And it is Space Hog, so maybe we'll actually meet a Space Hog in the movie. You never know.
Certainly possible.
But yeah, this is
96 was that song. Okay.
But one other thing that's in this trailer that we did see in the previous one was them all sort of floating through space in those. Everyone has their own color spacesuit, like the ice cream ghost from Scooby-Doo or the suits from 2001 or whatever.
Well, that 2001 is he had to acknowledge that's what he is. And there's 2 huge references to 2001. There's also the High Evolutionary, and there's that like spinning wheel, like 2001.
Oh, well, someone's running on a very much smaller version of the wheel. Yeah.
But a lot of people, he replied to a tweet again, James Gunn. If you've listened to our Guardians holiday special, we talk about James Gunn being on, very on Twitter and replying to people. That's got to be very thankless for him. But so a lot of people thought it was an Among Us reference with the colored suits. Remember early pandemic and playing Among Us? Yeah. And so he just replied with a screenshot of 2001 of the suits in 2001. It's not Power Rangers, guys. It's not Among Us. It's 2001.
And and this obviously just the fact that this is the final Guardians movie, at least under the creative control and of its absolute creator James Gunn. It looks like it's closing out a huge chapter. It looks like it's going to be super sad and emotional, and I can't wait to weep copious tears all over the theater.
Yeah, no, it's a great show. I mean, the one we saw at Comic-Con was great too. But most people, didn't get to see that, and most people like that trailer said, "Oh my God, this movie's gonna make me cry a lot, isn't it?" It has such a
that song too is like way more triggering for the tears. So.
Are you talking about the Comic-Con one?
Yeah, the Flaming
but I'm saying
Flaming
people,
Lips song.
But forget that, Matt. Forget that we're really special. People said they were crying from this trailer. Like, yeah. It's like it looks really emotional.
So think about how much more they'll cry when they hear the other song.
Forget the other song, Matt. No, it's great. No, this looks great. It will always be interesting to me to think about the what if that this was supposed to kick off phase 4, which were like, phase 4 ended up being kicked off on a melancholy note with Black Widow because a movie about a character we'd already watched die.
Right.
But this seemed like it would have been a much more like,
you mean phase 4 movies. Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. It's one of those weird things because of everything that happened with James Gunn and Marvel. It's so interesting that like we are finally circling back to the end of Volume 2 and Adam Warlock and the promise of that.
Right.
And we don't know, like, ultimately the shape of this movie, which is like High Evolutionary is there. the Sovereign and Adam Warlock are there. Like, is there a big bad, or is it just a whole
Clearly
bunch
a lot of
sort
focus
swirly,
on Rocket's
swirly
origins.
chaos? Well, and apparently Rocket's origins are tied to High Evolutionary, so it all. But yeah, and like there's the Gamora factor. So like, what's the crux of this movie, right?
I don't know. All I know is I read that Marvel is dead and no one's going to see this movie.
Oh, that's cool. Where'd you read that?
The
My blog.
internet.
Yeah, did you read it? Did you read it on my?
Yes.
Well, I mean, look, there is. I don't think we can deny that there is superhero fatigue. Actually, I'll talk about it a little bit later when we talk about Last of the Mohicans. In the fact that, like, I miss movies like Last of the Mohicans, where it's just like, how would that get made now? You know, like,
well, it certainly wouldn't be a theatrical movie. That's for sure.
That's crazy though, because you need to watch that in the theater.
Yeah.
Anyway, we're a movie for grown-ups, Eric.
At home watching their tights.
Speaking of movies for grown-ups, Transformers: Rise of the Beasts.
Mm-hmm.
I don't have too much to say about this because I'm not a big fan of this particular movie franchise. I saw the first 3, but not the following 3, I think.
I mean, including
I did see Bumblebee.
Yes,
I did see Bumblebee.
Okay, so Bumblebee was the 6th one.
Then I missed 2 of them.
Okay,
purposefully.
You missed the Wahlberg era.
I did miss the Wahlberg double punch of what was it, Last Night and something else.
The Last Night. Oh man, what was the one before?
Age of Extinction.
Age of Extinction, yeah.
Okay. So this one has the Predacons in it. I feel like that they have a good chance with this movie this summer because
it's more about the Beast Wars, yeah.
That's the thing, is like anyone who grew up watching like the Beast Wars or lived through the Beast Wars or fought in the Beast Wars is going to be a huge fan of Rise of the Beast.
My father fought in the Beast Wars.
My father and it was killed by a GoBot. But I do see in there Mirage. I see RC. Mirage being the actual toy I had that our mutual friend Raphael accidentally broke by twisting him around too much, and then to this day I still just have 2 halves of Mirage.
Oh, sad. Avenge me.
Because our friendship was also severed that day, not just.
I do need to correct you so you won't get angry Transformers nerds that there are no Predacons in this movie. There are Terracons in this movie.
Whatever.
Maximals and Terracons.
That's fine.
Predacons were an earlier part of G1.
You know, if you're a Predacon, you have to go door to door and tell people that you're on that list and you just moved into the neighborhood. Yeah, and you can't live within at least 500 feet of a school. That's true.
Right.
I don't have too much to say about Rise of the Beast, except that it is technically another prequel, like sequel to Bumblebee, prequel to the other movies. Because
they're doing the X-Men thing. They're
in the 90s. Yeah. Like Optimus Prime had adventures already.
Before, they're doing because they're tenuously
before the Witwicky era, the Sam Witwicky era. Yeah,
they're tenuously holding on to that continuity, even though I think everyone would be fine if they just got rid of it. I've seen them all. Every one of those goddamn Michael Bay terrible Transformers sequels. Because I'll still say the first one is pretty good. It's got a couple of really grown parts of it, but I think it's decent. But man, those sequels were just freaking god awful. I very much enjoyed Bumblebee. This is a totally different creative team, and Bumblebee was obviously very purposely like scaling down. Like there were only 3 Transformers that were prominent in that movie: Bumblebee and the 2 Decepticons that were after him. This one's like going bigger, but
they were Predacons, right? They were the Predacons.
They were just Decepticons.
I think the Predacons were. I think the real Predacons were the friends we made along the way.
I think so too. This one is Stephen Cappell Jr. directed Creed 2. Directed this. I'm cautiously hopeful that because it was a fun trailer. It just it's hard to forget all those bad sequels. The biggest thing, my takeaway from this is I'm just happy that the biggest thing that they're holding over from Bumblebee is that they look like goddamn Transformers when they're robots. They are discernibly characters with features because the Michael Bay robots.
That's one of the things I get lost in the sauce with those robot fights. I don't know who the fuck's who.
No, because it was terrible design. Like it was just like I understand that
the movies, Michael Bay movies, made me mad and scared. Mad because I couldn't figure out what was going on and who was who, and scared because that was like, am I an old now? I can't tell which robot is which, and I'm just like, the robots are punching,
No, it was badly designed. So when I see this trailer, I'm like, hey, it's RC. I can tell it's RC. She looks like RC, and she has features, and I can tell what she looks like. So hopefully it's good. That's all I have to say about that.
All right. Last of Us, something I think our listeners know I'm a huge fan of from the games. Eric hasn't played the games, but Eric, what do you think of this fuller trailer, and what do you think the movie's about?
Haven't.
I mean, the TV show is about.
Haven't played the games. I've played about an eighth of a game, Matt. A few months ago, I began that game, and then I went back to Spider-Man DLC when the occasional time I turn on my PS4. Okay.
Well, then you have an idea of what the game's.
Yes,
you have an idea of what this show is
Joel
about.
has recently met Ellie, and then I couldn't get out of an area they were in when they were first supposed to go somewhere, and I got frustrated and stopped.
Oh, you got to get out of the area, Eric.
Then I went back and I got out of the area, and they traveled a tiny bit, and then that was a few months ago. So you're like doing their journey in real time. Yes. So it's like zombies, but not quite. And
it's like zombies with a mushroom flair, which is your favorite thing because you love mushrooms. Which is it's basically it's a spore-based brain mutation, and so like they run into areas with heavy spores in the air, and so you get at this point. I either you got to it in the game or didn't. It's revealed within this trailer she is somehow immune, and so he's taking her west.
Which I was a little sad that the trailer gave it away, but then I did kind of remember. I already knew that a couple years ago.
I will say that there are shots in this trailer of a very, very wonderful DLC for the first game, which involves Ellie and a friend and slash love interest in an abandoned mall. And I was like, oh, they're doing that because you take a video game, you're wondering like what they're adding, what they're utilizing.
I'm imagining if the trailer said based on the acclaimed DLC.
Based on the DLC. That'd be amazing.
Right.
So obviously it's a show. You have to you can't just be a compilation of all the cutscenes in the game, right? So they have to flesh it out a little more. I did wonder if they were going to take us through the entire game in season 1. Because there are 2 games.
Yes.
And it looks like there's third act stuff, but I can't be sure. I maybe the creator has said something online about what's actually in season 1, because I'm worried about a Game of Thrones situation where it's like, is this just a 2-season show because there are 2 games and they're going to keep the story going, or they're going to end it? I do think I don't know about the plans for a 3rd game. But I do know that I think there's story left there to tell. If not, though, it's also fine because Last of Us 2 is the best video game I've ever played in my entire life.
Not according to some very angry men I saw on Twitter.
Oh, man, I must be a soy boy cuck who likes,
Yeah.
Maybe that's why it's my favorite game.
There you go.
Because it made so many people angry. It's so good. I don't understand why they hate Joy.
Because they're sad, terrible people.
Okay. Anyway, Last of Us. Can't wait for it.
Look cool to me. Look cool. It made me want to go back and play that game. I'm gonna try to play some of that game this month.
I don't understand why you're not playing that game right now, Eric. All right, let's move on from the nerd news and into I already read one listener message, so let's get to the second one, which is Matt writes in, not me, Matt, this Matt writes in on Patreon. I enjoyed the conversation about aging bands. Ironically, I saw Morrissey perform a full set on Wednesday, the night the episode was recorded. I would love the Smiths to reunite where they're all able. Accepting that they will not is a real bummer. Yes, they will not, Matt. I'm glad you burst your own bubble so I wouldn't have to. Scott Kalura actually also saw them Man, was it Wednesday?
IGN's own Scott Kalura?
Yeah. Well, he's the one I talked to about Morrissey on Slack. Anyway, and my attempts to see Morrissey over the years and never getting to until this past May. But yeah, they're not going to reunite anyway. That's all the write-ins we've got. Again, we're doing this Monday, so we didn't afford people the extra couple days to possibly drop us a note, but you can at weenjoypodcast@gmail.com, or you can tweet at us or write to us on Patreon, and we'll make you famous. That's Billy. That's the Billy the Kid line.
Yes, it is.
From life, not from the movies. Okay, let's get into good things to enjoy. Eric, you did not put one down here on the Google Doc, so I don't know what you're about to recommend. What is it?
I was scrambling. You know what I'm going to recommend? Tied to the complicated RIP we began this episode with, I'm going to just officially recommend Summer School.
I was going to say, the fact that you hadn't recommended Summer School, which is a movie I knew you absolutely loved during our first era together in New York.
Yes. Oh, really?
You were all about summer. It was like you were this close to not being the Freddy Krueger kid, but the Summer School kid,
the Freddy Shoop kid.
Summer School.
Mark Harmon's character.
Summer School. Okay, Summer School. Go for it.
I'll keep this on the short side, I think. But no, yeah, Summer School. Just a perennial favorite for my youth. It's its 35th anniversary. I actually went to a screening a couple months ago of it, where a couple of the actors spoke afterwards. And I brought my friend April to it, who'd never seen it, Matt, and I was glad to see she enjoyed it, because you never know when you're like, watch this great 80s comedy.
Right, starring a guy that people mostly know now from NCIS.
Right. And a complicated co-star. But she I don't know if she loved it, but she did like it. And I think it's a very funny movie. It's directed by the late, great Carl Reiner. I know it's not held up as like one of his like greatest things, but for me it was. And yeah, it's a teen comedy with
like if you got Carl Reiner in a 20-minute interview, it would just be all Summer School.
It would have just been all Summer School questions. Mark Harmon is the slacker gym teacher who is stuck teaching summer school for the summer, and the goofy kids in summer school. And he has to help set them on a better path, even though he himself needs to be set on a better path.
Oh, but who will do that for him? Yeah.
Yes. Hijinks ensue. Chrissy Alley plays a much more responsible teacher with like honors level students who want to take summer school in the next. And wouldn't you know it that this unlikely duo might have some sparks. But no, it's a very cute comedy. It's a very funny comedy. And also it holds up amongst 80s comedies. It's not nearly as cringy or now offensive as a lot of them are.
That's the thing. It's like you have to expect at least one or two moments that don't hold up, that haven't aged well. When you find one that actually has none of those, it's kind of great.
I wouldn't say there's none, but they're very gentle to the point that I don't think I told you this, Matt, but maybe I did. But there was, during the Q&A, one person asked a question who had never seen it, so they really liked it, but they're like, I really liked it. Of course, there's some things that, or you were like, that's crazy, that the little dated. And his example was the whole subplot with Courtney Thorne-Smith playing a student of Mark Harmon's who has a major crush on him, who he lets stay with him at one point, just that he would, because I guess under the modern lens of he should never let her do that. But even that is, he never makes a move on her. He never is interested in her. So it was more the responsibility aspect, not even like he's trying to score with his student, because he's not. So I think they were taking it a little far with their like under modern lens. Yeah, it was like they were going more realism, because yes, of course he shouldn't let her stay with him. It's a really funny movie. And Chainsaw and Dave are a underrated duo amongst goofy comedy duos. Two of his students, and also Chainsaw and Dave. This was the big thing that April and I talked about, is how Chainsaw and Dave were very early movie geek representation we were lacking.
They walked so Randy Meeks could run. Yeah,
they were specifically big into these two guys who are all about horror movies, talk about them, obsess about them, have posters up for them, and that part is really cool. And there you go. You should check out Summer School. I think I think it was on like Hoopla or one of those goofy. Is this a real site? You can rent it or buy it everywhere.
Yeah, Blingo with ads.
Yeah. But rent it or buy it, and it's funny. There you go. Summer
All
School.
right. My recommendation is in theaters right now, just opened this past weekend, and it is a movie I knew I would like, and I did like it because of the trailer, Violent Night, starring David Harbour. With all the weird performative debate that's been going on over the past 10 years online about Die Hard being a Christmas movie, which was funny for about 2 years, and now it's just become sort of like the word moist, where people think they need to be upset by that word because it's like an internet thing. Same thing with Die Hard as a Christmas movie. I think everyone's kind of agreed it is, so nobody needs to be defensive about it or argue it anymore. And secondly, no one cares either anymore. So, but the fact that Violent Night takes Santa Claus and puts him in a Die Hard scenario is almost a commentary on like, hey, now Die Hard really is a Christmas movie because it's fucking Santa Claus who's fighting everyone. And it's a very funny premise where it's like, he's not a mall Santa. He's not somebody who's in costume for his family or something like that. This is actual Santa Claus.
Which Trish did not know. That was a fun surprise for her. She thought it was going to be like a mall Santa.
Yeah. And so it's like actual Santa who's sort of starts off as a quote unquote bad Santa because he's sort of disillusioned by the entire holiday and like is sort of burned out after doing it for 1,100 years and finds himself in need of Christmas pick-me-up, in his own right. Like he needs Christmas spirit reignited within himself. And he goes into a large estate of a very wealthy family that is under siege by a Die Hard style team of again, they weren't terrorists, they were thieves, this time headed by John Leguizamo, who's out to get $300 million that is in a vault. A lot of it is very Die Hardy, and I interviewed the director, Tommy Wirkola, who did the movies Dead Snow and Hansel and Gretel Witch Hunter, for IGN, I don't know, a month and a half ago or so. And this movie is just filled with not just Die Hard homages and love, but also just a general love for 80s action movies. And it was funnier than I thought it would be. Like the script, it was written by the guys who wrote the Sonic the Hedgehog movie. And the fighting is actually pretty badass and brutal as fuck. Like it is gory, like for what that's the other thing is that Santa would inflict such violence, and they explain it story-wise in a couple of very
they add to the lore,
brief flashbacks, but you kind of get all you need to know. You don't need to know more than that. And I really enjoyed this movie. I even enjoyed this movie more than I thought it would, because I thought it was going to be a good B movie, but I think it's even a little bit more elevated than that. And I really liked, the action was great. I thought the character was really funny. And there is a sentimental heart at the center of it that works as well. And Harbour is just so charismatic too. Like so what I really like about, if we're playing into and leaning into the Die Hard aspect of it, what made Die Hard stand out so much is that John McClane could get hurt and like went through the movie seriously injured for big parts of it. And that sort of continued through the franchise, is that until he became more and more
until
of
it didn't.
Sort of a superhero by like the fourth movie in particular. But that was the whole thing, is that this was a mortal man and not a Schwarzenegger and not a Stallone who could get super hurt. And they do that with Santa too, where like Santa gets fucked up and like you get the idea that you can kill Santa Claus. He's not just sort of like magically protected in a certain way. So I like that as well, because it's him playing the John McClane role. So I liked it and I recommend it. While it is still in theaters, it didn't do terribly. It still came in second to Wakanda Forever. But, it's made back its budget at this point. So hopefully it has a little bit of legs going forward.
I really enjoyed this movie too. You enjoyed it a bit more than me, I'd say. In that my main issue was that I just think it takes a little longer to get going than it needs to. Like, because of, the trailer selling us something that we're like, let's get to that. And there's a little bit of a stop and start to it. Whereas like, let's go, Santa, let's go. But once it does, I very much enjoyed it. I very much enjoyed the level it operated at and how it just went for it. And I think David Harbour really help sell it all because he knows exactly what movie he's in. And
I don't think I minded that it took a while because I think a lot of that was spending time with characters that you don't think are important. But then by the end of the movie, like they spread the kills around. It's not just him killing everyone. So it really becomes sort of a family affair. And like everyone you think is sort of a waste of space in sort of a one-off at the beginning of the movie sort of comes into play. And even some of the armed gunmen themselves have like weird little funny asides. And I should just briefly mention there is a actual Home Alone factor to this movie that is really well done as far as like the lethality of what Kevin McAllister
sequence in the movie.
Yeah, like what
I was dancing around it in a tweet, but then there's like full article EW about it. So I was like, yeah, that is a great sequence that is very, very, very funny with how it goes. Yeah, I just think it could have been a little tighter, but I still enjoyed it. And I enjoyed whether it was meta or not that John Leguizamo was one of Colonel Stewart's crew in Die Hard 2, and now he's leading his group, his own group.
Movie that where there is a kills with icicles and an actual anyway. I won't. That was about to give away a twist of the movie, but I won't do it. So I enjoyed it. Violent Night in theaters everywhere or some places, but probably for not just a few more weeks. Anyway, until the Way of Water comes in and washes this all away in its glory. Okay, let's get into Last of the Mohicans. Next week's main event is my pick from Eric's list of good things to enjoy, and I am picking a movie I've never seen called Night of the Creeps. How creepy is this movie? So creepy you can't stream it anywhere. It's
available.
I'm saying for subscription based, so you have to rent it.
That's pretty typical.
Gotta rent Night of the Creeps, which I will, and I will watch it, and we will talk about it next week. Is Night of the Creeps a Christmas movie? It is now, because we're going to be doing it in the Christmas season. Last of the Mohicans, Eric. God, I love this movie. It's just, I love the look of it. I think the landscapes are beautiful. Obviously the music is a huge thing. It's a simple movie, but it's like a romantic epic adventure that like you don't get anymore. And with cool action sequences and I don't know, I really buy into the romance of this movie, which is something, like when I originally saw this, when it came out as at this point, a 16 or 17-year-old, I was like, that it wasn't usually my bag to watch like epic historical dramas, but this one really works well. I will say that score wise, my freshman dorm floor, this would be 1993 to 94 at UCLA, the most popular things to sort of blast in the hallways or from someone's room were The Chronic, Little Earthquakes, and this soundtrack.
That's amazing. But when you think about it being UCLA and people want to be film students, and you're right by Westwood where everyone's like hardcore movie. Yeah, okay, that's very fun.
Yeah, I mean, there were probably like 6 like go-to albums, but this was one of them that people played all the time. And then that Clannad song that is also in it. So
look, I'm sure I've mentioned this to you before, but my dorm mate Terry Metalis, now showrunner on Star Trek Picard, when he and Travis Fickett lived directly across an alcove from Adam and I, like, so we could talk to each other like in a movie if we both had our windows open. Terry would blast the ER soundtrack all the time on CD. So,
So, Eric, how did this movie find you after a couple decades?
It was interesting because it took me a little while to get in. Now, remember, my memories of it are very fond. I saw it in the theater multiple times. I remember it being really effective, being really into it. When it began, it took me a little bit this time to kind of really click in with it.
Man, you just want movies to get going.
No, it was not that.
You're like Violent
this wasn't
Night.
the pacing. Unlike Violent Night, which I do think has a little bit of a pacing issue, but then gets good. This was more just like, okay, I wasn't like totally engaged this time. I also had a very specific issue, which is this transfer was super dark, and I just was Googling it, and some people have semi complained about the most recent like Blu-ray and whatnot. I wasn't watching on Blu-ray, I was watching on Apple, but being a very dark transfer. So some of the nighttime scenes, like at the beginning, when he first goes up to that cabin, I was like, man, I can barely see people. And I was reading one review saying you should turn out all your lights when you watch this one. And I knew in the theater it wasn't like that. All that being said, it got, as the movie progressed, it got me more and more. And by the end, I was like, okay, I love it. And it has such an effective final act, which is like really effective when you think about how it's almost dialogue free. The last like sort of the and it was funny, Matt, because I had to like pause, like, you know, run and pee and get some water, and I saw I had like 22 minutes left. I had a sitcom's worth left of the movie, and I realized most of the major shit I thought about of this movie hadn't happened yet. I was like, wow, the biggest, most iconic, most emotional, gut-wrenching stuff happens in the last 25 minutes, and I didn't remember that. I would have thought it was more spread out.
No, it really is from the entering of the Huron nation, and like the English Huron French like debate that happens where basically Bagua is undone, leading into Duncan being like, I said to take me, and then the music starts up, the violins start up, and that's sort of kicks off that really great like final like 10 minutes.
It's spectacular. And again, I'm not saying the rest of the movie isn't good. It is, but I think the reason I love this movie is because of those last 20 minutes. Like, it really, because I remember leaving the theater and it was like really got me, and watching it again, I see why. So I came out of it very positive still. Like, I mean, I think it's really great and fascinating to watch it, because, you know, one of the things about watching this movie again, when I saw this movie, this would have been my first introduction to both Michael Mann and Daniel Day-Lewis. Michael Mann, not literally, because I'd watched Miami Vice, but when you're a little kid, you don't care who fucking makes TV shows you watch. So he wasn't a name to me. I hadn't seen Manhunter. And Daniel Day-Lewis got a lot of press because this was his like big studio debut for a person who you might expect to have a very different career if he'd wanted it after this movie. And then I kind of remember.
So that's the thing, is we knew him mostly at this point from winning the Oscar
for My Left Foot, not watching My Left Foot.
I saw My Left Foot.
Oh, you did? I hadn't seen My Left Foot.
Yes, you saw My Right Foot, but I saw My Left Foot. And also just sort of like being around in the 80s when A Room with a View and The Unbearable Lightness of Being and all these movies that we weren't really seeing, but we saw him on the poster.
But I didn't know any of that. I literally didn't know who he was. And then I vaguely remembered My Left Foot being a big deal. So it's like, oh, that's the guy from that movie. But I literally, Matt, while we were talking, I was looking at his IMDb and being like, oh, he did a bunch of things before this. I didn't know he did all those movies in the 80s. Point of fact, it's funny because he became so selective when he had the power to do so that he made 10 movies before this and 10 movies after, and then he retired. So this is the exact middle. This is him doing a big 20th Century Fox big studio movie that was a hit movie and positions him as like an action star if he'd wanted to, and just, of course, not at all. You know, Daniel Day-Lewis is more about, I want to experience something different every time. So for this movie, I'll be an action star. I know it's not like an action per se, but still.
It's so when he won the Oscar for My Left Foot, it was when I was like kind of making a weird point to see the big movies at the Oscars, because I would wind up watching them with my dad, who'd usually be in town in New York for work stuff. So I remember like he went up against Tom Cruise and like Robin Williams and a few other people for movies, and like Kenneth Branagh that year for movies I had seen. So that's why like I would see like at all of 14 years old or whatever, I saw My Left Foot in the theater.
Right. Oh wow, you saw in the theater. You were
no, I saw in the theater. I saw Henry V in the theater.
I
saw
Foot.
Born on the 4th of July in the theater. Yeah, all those movies.
I saw Born on the 4th of July was a Tom Cruise movie, Matt.
Yeah, but it wasn't Cocktail. You know what I mean? It was an Oliver Stone movie.
Yeah, that was a universal Tom Cruise. I would see scattered stuff like I saw Cinema Paradiso with my mom and on Fire Island when we went there for the weekend, but I wasn't seeing everything like I would shortly thereafter. But the other thing I wanted to mention is just Michael Mann. Is interesting that this was my introduction to him, just because this is such an outlier in his career. Most of his stuff is like obviously about sort of criminals and or cops, not all, but a lot of it. And that's the stuff he's kind of most well known for. This is like such an outlier as a period piece, as just the vibe of it. So it was just interesting to get introduced to these two guys from a movie that was a very big success. It wasn't like, oh, a disaster. It was like, it worked on every level. It just was not the standard for either of these guys, and neither of them would ever try to replicate what they did with this movie, you know?
Yeah, and and before there was Heat on the Streets and Heat, there was the forested battles, particularly the ambush scene in the third act of this movie that sort of like do stand out as like somebody who's going to make large scale action sequences with a lot of moving pieces. Daniel Day-Lewis in this movie, Madeline Stowe in this movie. So we've got the Brit playing an American and an American playing a Brit, and Madeline Stowe is known for Revenge the movie.
Isn't he
and
Irish?
Revenge
Am I
series.
remembering that incorrectly?
Oh, is he Irish?
No, I'm wrong. You were right. Oh, he's got dual citizenship, but he was born in London, but he's got dual citizenship with UK and Ireland.
Revenge the movie, Revenge the series. And so Madeline Stowe, like this movie was like her biggest thing, along with like 12 Monkeys and and then she just did other movies that existed. Nothing like super stands out, but I remember them because we were alive then. This was her kind of her big moment. And then we've got a bunch of people. I won't name them all. I won't do.
Don't name them all. We'll just get to
I won't
the
do them all the
characters.
thing. I will just say that I'm going to name two other people. One is Wes Studi, who plays Magua, whose career absolutely really kicked off.
He got a ton of attention.
Huge bump after this.
Yeah,
the same way.
Well deserved. He got like talk of an Oscar nomination. He didn't unfortunately get. But there was
he wound up being in Heat, by the way, as one of the cops. He was one of Pacino's team in that movie. So. Yep. He was in Dances with Wolves, but he wasn't the breakout of that movie. Graham Greene was. Yeah. So Graham Greene's career sort of went into hyperdrive after Dances with Wolves. Wes Studi as an indigenous performer after this movie, playing Magua. And then I want to mention that Alice, Cora's younger sister, Alice Munro, is Jodie May, who we've seen in a ton of British things. And if you watch The Witcher, she was Queen Calanthe in season 1, and was on Game of Thrones as Maggie the Frog and just a bunch of stuff. Anyway,
and I was in love with her when I saw this movie.
Oh yeah, she was great, and she gets such a great moment too. All this stuff. So so this is just an interesting movie based on a really old book by James Fenimore Cooper from 1826. And there's an element, again, because this was written a long time ago too, that there's kind of a white savior aspect here, as far as like
just centering it on a white character is a very old-fashioned, and I say
old-fashioned thing. But let me tell you how much how satisfying it is at the end of the movie when it's the dad, when it's Chinjakuk who actually like kills Magua in a squash match. Like
no. It was, that is, and I didn't remember any of that, and that's all great, because it's a very of its time thing that it's like, who's the best person to center this story about Native Americans around? A white guy. But it's like, you feel like you get the most you're going to get in this era by having it end with Russell Means getting these big moments and the final lines, and he's the title character, like, even though obviously if they made this movie today,
he is the last of the Mohicans. Like, it is not Nathaniel Poe, aka Hawkeye of the Mohican tribe.
I always knew this was based on a book, but I didn't know till tonight it was based on a series. There's like 5 Hawkeye novels.
Okay, so he was the Jack Reacher of his time, is what you're saying. So this movie takes place pre-America, colonial in the colonies during the French, what's referred to as the French and Indian War, where the English at war with the French. And Hawkeye and his surrogate adopted father and brother basically are sort of like liberated men with no actual home who sort of wander the Hudson River Valley, killing and selling fur. They're fur sellers, and they're friends with the people, the locals who have gone out into the frontier. And there's a war around them, and everyone's sort of like forcing them to fight for England because that's what they got to do. They got to join the militia. There's actually there's elements of that also in Outlander, the past couple seasons of Outlander, as far as like Jamie Fraser having to like side with the British and provide men for them, and as soldiers from the homesteads around. But these men are unwilling and hesitant to leave their families behind because of rampaging war parties.
It's interesting because the movie does not take the time to give you context for what Nathaniel's deal is until much later, to the point that it's like you're not even sure, is Daniel Day-Lewis playing a Native American?
Yeah, is he playing really a Native American very badly?
Right. Like,
or actually well, because he's not like changing his skin color at all or anything like that.
So you're just kind of it does feel like you're dropping in. I guess this was the second book, and it always does feel like you're just dropping in on someone like already established, because we see him. He works hard, he plays harder, gets along with people, but it takes a while for us to kind of get the story on what's going on.
He's a swinging bachelor. Like they keep being like, when are you going to settle down and have kids? And it opens with them running in the woods, which is like almost bookending because of the running they do at the end of the movie. It gives you a taste of him with the rifle because he's pretty good. I assume that's where he gets the Hawkeye from, because he's a great shot, which pays off at a fort scene when he's sort of like killing people, chasing a courier.
Right. And they never have, and I to its credit, by the way, they never do the like, that's why they call him Hawkeye. Like, it's like we just kind of learned like he's fucking awesome. Like, he's great, but they don't talk about him in the way we're kind of trained to expect in a movie like this.
You know what a pop the crowd got when he John Woos those two fucking rifles at the end of the movie?
God, yes. Have you seen RRR yet, by the way?
No, I know it's life-changing, and I'll figure
your
out
life will change.
I know. Well, maybe I don't want my life to change, Eric. I want it to stay.
That's true.
Okay. All right. So we've got this trio who's friends with the families, and confusing array of white men. One is John, who's actually the husband and owner of this cabin, and the other is Jack, who is there to recruit for the militia. And then in the midst of it all is a much younger Jared Harris yelling at people as a British guy.
Very recognizable by his voice. Never gets a close-up.
Yeah.
But it's funny because in the credits, it's like, oh, Pete Poswaite's in there, Cole Meany's in there. Never spotted them.
Oh,
Jared
Pete
Harris,
Poswaite I spot because he's at the fort, and he's the one who arrests. He barges in and arrests. Hawkeye.
I never, but I just will say, I never thought about Jared Harris having a distinctive voice, but the second he spoke, I knew that was Jared Harris. And it's, tiny role, no close-ups, but.
And Sebastian Roche is in this too, somewhere.
Yep.
I didn't see him. So.
The CW's Sebastian Roche.
So, and then basically we get the premise of what will create the conflict later, which is like, they don't want to leave their families behind. So Jack is going to go to Albany to get assurances that if their homesteads are attacked, they can leave the battle at the fort, and they are told they can. And this is when we meet Major Duncan Hayward, who sort of saunters into town and looks a lot like Mr. Perfect. He's got an extreme Mr. Perfect face.
Mr. Perfect was a popular wrestler in the 80s.
No, that's just my ideal man, Mr. Perfect. That's why I call him that. Well, maybe he was, to be honest, because I was a massive actual Mr. Perfect fan. So
yes.
He comes into town and he's all snooty patooty, and it's funny when the guy says, it kind of gives him agrees and says, hey, you can leave. That's fine. If your families are attacked, you can totally ditch this army and go back and protect your house. And Hayward sort of takes exception to that. And you're like, oh, what's he objecting to? And then you find out, oh, he's objecting that there's actual compromises being made because this guy's a prick. And he's like,
yes,
I don't like this. And then we see him try to woo the woman he had a picture of in his wallet or locket or whatever it was, who was Cora Monroe, played by Madeline Stowe.
Monroe, played by Stowe.
Monroe, she plays Monroe from Too Close for Comfort.
I knew what you were gonna say. There's a reference people won't get.
Mr.
Killing
Rush.
it.
Yeah. Anyway, so, yeah, and then so she's sort of like ahead of her time for like a female character in this era to say that, like, yeah, she turns down, or she like hems and haws at least at his proposal of marriage because she doesn't have feelings for him, which which is to say that women don't usually get a say at this point.
He's a man in good standing.
And like and he loves, you know, he's into her, and she would obviously just learn to be into him. And but she's probably pulling the, hey, my dad's an actual kind of colonel card, where she can sort of reject. She doesn't outright reject him at this point, but you know she's not into him, and she's about to meet a man who she's way into. Like she's super horned for this guy. Like,
oh yeah,
like after this near-death experience and being saved by him, she's like, oh, I am stirred, fine sir, stirred. I tell you.
Well, look at him with that luscious hair.
For sure. And there's literally a scene in the fort where they just look at each other. So she's like, what are you looking at? He's like, I'm looking at you. And then they look.
Just you, baby.
Just you, baby. That's just what we call pillow talk, baby. I wish he spoke like Ash, medieval Ash. Honey, you got real ugly.
I want to team up between the two of them. Ash and Hawkeye.
Okay, so he escorts Alice and Cora. He's taking them to the fort. This is when we meet Magua, who we don't know is a sort of a treacherous villain at this point, but we get an inkling that he does not like Hayward or any of his sort of his white friends. But also at this point, we don't blame him. We're like, oh yeah, these guys are sort of insufferable douchebags. I get it. But it turns out that he is full on traitorous, and he walks up in one of two scenes where someone just sort of runs out and like axes a guy in the fucking neck.
Yeah, and I mean, it's effective here. It's even more effective later when you're like, man, back then this would just be so chaotic because it's like, and you know, just. You know, the ineffectual that they have guns, but they're the ones that take forever to reload, and and they have to like.
Oh God, yeah, and well, it literally when they're hiding in the waterfall, he's like, "We're out of powder," you know, like I can't. There's no. It's the same way of saying we're out of bullets. So he just wails away on a guy and then pulls out a rifle and kills him, and it's a big sort of ambush to try and then he's targeting specifically the daughters of Monroe, something that Hawkeye spots. And this is where we find out that Hayward is, not a man of actual like upstanding character, but like he can fight and he will defend. He will do his best to try to defend Cora. He's not a complete shit in that regard. He's actually such sort of a self-serving weenie. And then he gets sort of spurred by her and realizes that she's got the hots for Hawkeye, that his sacrifice at the end is moving, but also very surprising.
It is. So because I didn't remember a lot, I didn't remember who the white villain was, Matt, because, I remember that they're fighting West Studi, but I was like, is it Monroe or Hayward who's like your like kind of main antagonist amongst the British?
Another obstacle, right?
Yeah. It's interesting. It actually goes back and forth in a way that's a little disorienting, but ultimately I liked how it worked because, Hayward has a moment early-ish. I mean, he's already like, done some of the things you're talking about. But shortly after this, there's the scene where, because they come across, the massacre at like the cabin and the people they knew got killed, and it's implied horribly. And when they're
women and children and stuff,
right, when they're talking about that, and Monroe doesn't want to do anything. Hayward initially is like, it was pretty bad, like he's kind of sticking up for Hawkeye, and and Korra being like, hey, maybe we should care about this. But then, of course, the next time when it's brought up in front of everyone, he just sides with Monroe. So there's this kind of back and forth between like, you know, how much is he going to kind of like fight that impulse in him? But it's funny because, and we're jumping all over, it's fine. I also thought it was a little weird with Monroe, who ultimately has that big moment of deciding that he'll take the French on their offer. And if my one complaint story-wise is I thought that was a little unearned, because he kind of has this epiphany about like, they say that it's, you know,
well, now he cares about like the lives of his guys. I get it. I know.
I felt like there should have been a little more for that, because I ultimately liked Hayward. His back and forth is like sniveling a-hole, but he's not like really the worst person out there, and he has his moments. I thought I did like that.
Basically, so Hawkeye and his brother and dad, like as sort of a 3-man wrecking crew, like save after 18 soldiers get massacred by Magwa's crew. You get to see them sort of fight for like the first time, and they're awesome, and they shoot and they chop, and I don't know what Chinjakuk's like actual weapon is, that big fucking like bladed mallet thing that he kills Magwa with at the end, but like he's crushing skulls with it, and you know Hawkeye's got his gun, and Unkas is great too. So anyway, they save the day, and it's a very there's a very sort of like, there is a rom-com-y element here, as far as like he's going to be very curt with her at first, and he is going to be kind of rude, but then she's gonna see through that, and there's sort of classic love beats that happen here, but she is enthralled with him as he sort of like they agreed to take them to the fort, and this is when they pass by the burned down and massacred cabin that we saw in the intro of the family, and they're dead. The wife is dead, and the kids are dead, and everything's awful. And this is when she actually learns that he knew them, and it leads them to have like a deeper conversation about the differences between I guess the white man and whatever Hawkeye is at this point, because he's been raised by an indigenous tribe. But he says that their breeds apart, but she is also sort of enthralled by it all, and like you could tell when she turns over to fall asleep that like, oh, she is experiencing feelings like she's never felt before.
Feelings all over. Also on the way to her father is a sequence that I was already putting in my notes. This feels like Pirates of the Caribbean, when there's like the fort battle they're going by. And then that was before they show that they're in that little boat with like Hawkeye in the water trying to like push them along. And I was like, this really feels like Pirates of the Caribbean. It feels like that one part in Pirates when you're going through the battle.
Great visuals, like seeing the fort in the distance, like in the flames of the cannons and stuff, and then like the scale of like watching the sort of the French assault on the thing. Like great set work here, set pieces, location work, all done really well. And they sneak into the fort, which is sort of like they probably would be better off not going there, you know, in a way where Hawkeye probably did want to, because he wanted to tell John his family was dead, but also, and everyone else, that they probably needed to leave. But like, as far as like a fort under siege that's sort of doomed, they're going from frying pan into the fire. One of my favorite payoffs in this is like all this talk about General Webb sending like reinforcements, and like they could be here, and they even like send a courier that they have to protect. And then like he learns that like the reinforcements were never coming, ultimately. Because you do wind up, you're like, okay, when are these guys coming? When do we hear like a cannon fire or rifles fire off screen, and like, oh, the day is saved, and it just never came. And it's sort of like, because it sort of shines the spotlight on the absolute putrosity of some of these guys. Like we're at this point now where like the colonists are like debating with like, well, there's British law and then there's actual tyranny. What is reasonable and what is not reasonable to ask of us? Like what are we willing to? There's things we are willing to do because it's the law, and we've said we've promised. But like, what is too far? And to the point where like the British machine isn't going to work anymore because everyone's too out for their own self survival and their own standing and all this stuff. So I love the moment when basically Colonel Monroe's been abandoned by his own empire, his own rules, right?
Mm-hmm. I mean, this movie, set obviously a couple decades before the American Revolution, but obviously showing very much the lead up to the American Revolution and what's going on that would lead to, even though the movie's focus is not on the people living under British rule, because Hawkeye never really accepts that, but he's friends with people who are, and the kind of people who are like, I guess I'll go fight, but you have to I have to be able to go back to my family. While these people, we're seeing all the seeds of why these people not too long after will just be like, fuck this, and there'll be an actual revolution.
It's one of those things where Hawkeye doesn't just get to be sort of like curt and callous with Cora, which just turns her on even more. Maybe it does the same thing to Hayward too. I don't know. Maybe it turns him on too. But like, he gets to also like sort of like sneer back at him. He's like, Hayward, who can't believe that there's somebody who doesn't belong to any sort of like, well, who are you loyal to? What side are you on? Who are your masters? Who, like, what is your nation? And these are people without one. This is somebody who's like just out there living, man. LAVIN,
going west, man. Kentucky.
Like, it's just fucking pre-American Wooderson.
Yes. The scene with the courier, I believe, is one of our early. That's why they call them Hawkeye moments, because that's where they keep handing him different guns because, again, the reload issue. But it's a cool, it's a cool sequence. As it's like, they keep handing him one after the other. And guess what? He's a crack shot, and it's pretty cool.
He's really good at it. Do you think that guy's out of sight? He's not. Hawkeye season. Then basically, Cora at this point, once Hayward full on lies, and she's sort of like hit the facade of being a good guy, like sort of like instantly evaporates in front of her eyes. So it's like, she's like, it is on with Hawkeye at this point. And like they had that scene where they look at each other, and then the fucking violins play that very specific part of the score, and all he has to do is like grab her hand and like pull her off, and they just make sweet Fort Love on the side. Very passionate. Dirty. A lot of
literally dirty, because
they're all very stinky frontier sex.
Yes. I do want to just backtrack for a second to say that Hawkeye has a great badass line, a line that you could fit into a lot of other movies of this era. Like Arnold could say this line.
Oh yeah, for sure. He has a couple.
Someday I think you and I are going to have a serious disagreement. Yeah. Although in a movie with a more traditional action beats, they would have, they would have a final fight. There is no final fight between Hawkeye and Hayward. Because that's not where this is going.
Well, and it's like he's the rogue cop. The chief's literally yelling at him at that moment. So like, and then so he beds Cora Monroe, but then because he has inspired many of the militiamen to leave and escape AWOL in the cloak of darkness, he is arrested the next morning and he's going to be hanged. And then
she's like, why didn't you leave too? And he takes his finger and puts it through a hole he made in his other hand.
Yeah, he's like he's like, the question is, why don't I leave now? Which I should, but anyway. So then she pleads to her dad, and the dad doesn't cave, and then Hayward's even more of a dick because he realizes that they probably porked that last night. He's like, you're just defending him because you're infatuated with him. And but then the French are upon them. The French have finally like gained enough footage, and their cannons can actually strike the fort walls. And who's this? Oh, and we do see like there's a scene in here before the actual surrender between what is the character's name? The Marquis, between Magua and whoever the head of the French bastards,
right.
Where we get like that. Oh, Magua is targeting Monroe and his daughters, and his plan is to eat Monroe's heart and kill his daughters so that he knows that his family line is completely ended.
Yeah,
and he kind of almost does it. You know,
Mhm.
he definitely does like at least 1/3, if not 50% of that. And he and then you do learn later on in the second conversation after the surrender that Monroe basically, much like what the war party did to the family that we met at the beginning of the movie, Magua's family and village were killed and burned, and he was taken in by the Mohawk, and his wife married someone else. It was a whole big thing, and so Magua's has this deep seated hatred for specifically Colonel Monroe, and so that he targets him constantly. And I do wonder. It does seem like Magua goes into business for himself, right? Like they do this
because the French make a deal he wasn't expecting. Yeah,
but like the French guy wasn't even like, "Hey, if
Heads
something
up.
were to happen to them on the road," it wasn't even like that. I don't think. I think it was kind of like, "Hey, stay away from them."
Yeah.
But huge battle sequence that happens, very well done as far as like the build up to it. Like a couple guys running out and killing, but then like nothing, and like
Yeah.
like you just see the Magua's sort of soldiers like walk through the wooded areas and taking their time before they close in on both sides. And it's just a great shot seeing the rifles being fired from both sides of the screen, but also from the center of the screen off to the sides. And
No, really sells the chaos, and then has the incredibly satisfying moment of Hawkeye saving Cora and running up and
yeah. Like getting like killing. He has a few moments where he just sort of like burns through murders.
He's like berserker rage.
Yeah. Also, we should point out that Magua's signature move is shooting horses, which is just almost sort of like what can we do to make him more villainous? He'll shoot, he does it when he goes after Cora. I think he shoots Hayward's horse, and then at the end he shoots Colonel Monroe's horse before he rips his heart out while he's still alive.
Yeah, and since he couldn't kill the daughters yet, he tells him, "I'm gonna kill your daughters," and then kills him.
Which at that point is still bad because he dies basically knowing his daughters are going to die. And then Hawkeye saves Cora. Cora even gets a few moments of like action in there. Shoots a guy, tries to protect. She's out to protect Alice herself. They all escape in canoes. Hayward's there also in a canoe, and they all wind up hiding in that waterfall. Very memorable scene. I feel like this is the moment that kicks off the third act.
No, it is for sure. Because first, they go into the river, they go over the small waterfall, then there's the huge one. That's where they try to fool them, but they know it probably won't, which I like. And then you go, it's a really cool visual when they go behind the waterfall, and I was like, hey, that's the backside of water. But it's actually very dramatic.
It is the backside of water, and they all just go, "Oh, Jungle Cruise." And then Emily Blunt's side boob shows up, and it works.
Hey, it does tie in.
So, but yeah, they go there, and they're like, hopefully they'll pass us by, and they won't think we're in here. But then you see the torches, go through the water, and the fucking cool visual of that,
Mm-hmm.
and like the panic and figuring out like it's almost like Doctor Strange going through the endgame scenarios. Like I went through 6 million scenarios, and this is the only way we can win is if I leave and find you later, which sounds terrible to any action hero. This is another way that it subverts sort of the action premise, which is like in a traditional action movie, this would not happen. Like he would just fight back and get knocked out and be tied up in the villain's, kingdom or whatever.
Or left for dead. They think he's dead,
Right. But he's like, no, I'm literally leaving so they don't fight us.
Because we'll lose that fight.
And it's kind of dark what he's saying to her. He's like, no matter what occurs, like submit. Like he doesn't know if she'll be raped. Like all these things, like she could be near death, but his instructions literally just are stay alive. And I will find you. I don't know when. Like he even says, like, I don't know. This could be. So he's like, maybe you'll have to become a bride. I don't know. But in a few years from now, I will eventually find you.
Right.
It's just it's the most romantic, bleakest thing that has ever been shouted at somebody in a movie.
Right. Don't die. It might get pretty bleak, but don't die. And like we said, was the big beat at the end of the trailer, and it worked, and it's effective in the trailer, and it's effective in the movie.
Yeah, no matter what occurs, I will find you. And she even says it earlier to him when like he's in prison and she wants to break him out, and she's like, I'll find her. He's like, no, don't. And he's basically, so at this point, she gets to do the thing that he was saying earlier, like, leave me, like, I'm lost. She's like, save yourself, you know?
Yeah.
So they love each other so much that they actually do that for each other, which is like, no, do not do this. And then we already talked about it a bunch at the beginning, which is like the whole Hawkeye showing up, having to sort of walk through that gauntlet, and you know, where you're not supposed to fight back or show as little pain as possible. People are slashing at him and smashing him in the face, and he gets to the top, to the Huron chief.
This also feels a little bit like Ash when everyone's throwing crap at him.
And he's like, oh God, shut up. And Hawkeye's like, you miserable bastards.
They're very similar movies if you think about
Or
it.
he's like, oh God, make it stop.
Strange one.
Your weapon. Oh, you're raised in a barn? Anyway.
Yeah.
Probably were raised in a barn. Anyway. Now this has to happen. We get everything I want. Why not this?
Yeah, Army of Darkness meets Last of the Mohicans. It's gonna happen.
So and then Hayward sacrifices himself. I do like, you know, as the Huron chief seems very reasonable, but yet he's still like, yeah, and burn her. So that Magwa's not sad anymore.
Well, no, I mean, it's so funny because it's like they're trying to make he does this bold move, and he's basically like puts it all on the table and says, this guy's going rogue and he's not repping you well. But the guy's like, yeah, I think you're right. But so my solution is kill Cora, give Alice to him, and let Hayward go.
Well, here's
right?
the thing. In all the scenarios, Hayward would be alive. Like, Magua wasn't even going to kill him. He was going to sell him to the French.
That's right.
Where he'd just be like a esteemed POW. And or he was going to be set free. And he chose death. So that's why it was very surprising, where it's like,
no, it's very like,
not just death, but like burning alive, like possibly, you know, arguably the worst death. So
the fact that both of them, but first him, make this like, no, take me instead, when Cora is, you know, going to be the sacrifice.
Yeah.
But
then like the putting him out of his misery, he with his rifle, the trusty rifle. Again, I'm sure one of the moments he remembered from seeing the film decades ago. That always stuck with me as well. And then kicking off the race to save Alice.
And again, I have to go back and see if I'm right about this. I don't know if Daniel Lewis speaks again after he's talking to the chief and trying to make that deal.
Oh, like if he has a line at the end of the movie?
I know he doesn't have a line in the final scene, but I don't even know if he has a line once they escape and he shoots.
Oh, probably
Hayward,
not. I mean, it's not like he says,
"You're
right, you are the last of the Mohicans." He doesn't say that.
Yeah. He doesn't say, "I couldn't have said it better myself."
Or like
Dad.
when Magua like kicks Uncas off the cliff, he's like, "Well, looks like you're the last one now."
Right. But yeah, so but again, and maybe he has one or two lines I'm forgetting, but my point being, it's almost all done without dialogue. Certainly the brunt of this, and it's so effective. Like everything that happens here, with, you know, his brother, the fight.
His brother like still gets to kill a bunch of people and puts up an okay fight against Magua. Gets that death. Now Alice's thing has a couple layers to it, which is to say, is she killing herself because she just immediately envisions a bleak future of being Magua's wife and having a tortured existence, or was she actually have super, you know, a lot of feelings for Uncas, like the unspoken feelings that, like,
there's this little subplot thing,
there's a side movie that we're not watching where they're the main characters, right? Like there's Hawkeye and Cora, but then there's Uncas and Alice over here probably doing the same thing. Maybe they even fuck too. Like, who knows? So is she also killing herself because well, if he's dead, I don't want to live either. So, or it could be both. It's both of them, right?
Because also there is because we don't know all that. There's this tragic thing of if she'd waited another minute,
exactly, she would have been saved because Daddy was coming. So yeah, like
maybe we should say maybe because she would have been something they could have used against them. But I have to say, I remember it's just one of those moments. You remember these things that her killing herself like hit me so hard, and I know I wasn't alone. Like just like it was like an impactful. Jodie May looking absolutely gorgeous, like just look to camera, and then her decision to do that. Just like it was like a holy shit. Like I just, at my young age, I just was not prepared for that to happen.
You should watch her be a warrior queen on Witcher.
Well, maybe I should.
It's well, that's the other thing is like she was the bright-eyed, naive one. She's like sort of the
we're going on
girl.
An adventure.
Yeah, she's like, it's so exciting. We're gonna see the Red Man, like,
right.
And so this is like this super awful, bleak Flannery O'Connor style outcome for poor Alice Munro.
Yeah.
And it's even though it's like, and it's emotional too because it's like, are these the most well-defined characters in the world? No, even in the context of this movie, but like seeing the father like scream at the sight of his son falling, and like seeing Cora scream at Alice, seeing her on the ground, like it's just such a
it's not like it's not like we
get like enthralling moving sequence. This whole thing,
it's a testament to old-fashioned filmmaking. Because no, it's not like we had a great insight into Cora and Alice's dynamic as sisters or anything. It's just a powerful dialogue-free moment that just sells the emotion of it all.
And then comes Hawkeye with the fucking 2-gun in it, and then the very satisfying one-sided fight where the dad just rolls in with what I got to look up what that weapon is, but yeah, that's
and because I didn't remember how that, and I was 99% sure Russell Means did not die, but I no recollection that he and only he takes out Wes Studi. So it's not even like they team up against the guy who killed their brother and father. And I love that. That's a definite, just very, very subversion of the
and also the fact that like his family gets killed. So Hawkeye is like, I guess I'm the last of the Mohicans now, because he's not.
No,
you know what I mean? Like, so
yeah,
he's adopted, so it's kind of like they still left it with like the dad, because even the dad isn't like, well, I guess there are 2 Mohicans left. It's like, nope, it's just me, baby, just me.
Yeah. No, because it's like Hawkeye's main goal is save Cora, which he does. Now that's, of course, he's upset his brother just died doing that, but it just feels right to let his dad be the one to take this guy out, even though again, it's not like we had some huge dynamic between his dad and his brother. It's enough. It's enough with the acting and the directing to sell it all.
It's being called a war club, which is a pretty cool name too, as far as what, because it's like a big club that's mostly a blunt instrument, but it's got that blade on the back that sticks out. So I dig it.
Yeah, no,
we should bring that into the
like
MCU.
He does a total finishing move on him, and yeah, it's good stuff.
All right.
And Wes Studi is a great, like we get enough. Obviously, he's like remorseless and single-minded in his vengeance, but it's enough like his backstory to give him enough to make him like a tragic villain, not in a like,
Yeah, but like one kind of final, let's just talk about, before we sign off, there's that moment where Alice is on the edge.
Mm-hmm.
And there's that almost sympathetic look.
Yes, which I remembered very strongly.
Softest Magua can be.
I actually almost remember
lowers his knife and raises his hand, and like as gentle as he can be as a character.
In my memory, it was even more, which again speaks to how like that whole sequence stood out to me. In my memory, I wondered if there was even more sympathetic parts to him. Again, the movie does have some sympathy for him, but most of the time he's just trying to kill everyone. But no, it's those great little beats that like hint at more, but it works, just fine at what we get, because it does seem like in that moment he does feel some empathy for her, even though he's just wanted to kill her the whole movie, and now he's taking her as his child bride, basically.
Yeah. Whew. Good stuff.
Good stuff.
This wasn't the first movie I recommended. It was like second or third or something.
Yeah, I think it was like I thought it was the first week. I think it was the first recommendation you
Was
had.
it?
Because it was the first episode. It was the third episode of this podcast, but the first time we did a good thing to enjoy.
All right. The first thing I recommended. Maybe I should do the first thing I don't know
Well,
what it was.
except you ruined it, Matt, because I have this in my notes. Because the week before, even though we talked about how next week we're going to introduce this new segment, you said, I want to recommend 30 coins, even though we have a new segment starting next week. So it was your second.
Oh, I have an extra one. Yeah. I like 30 coins. Is it coming back? I didn't even check on that.
Yeah.
There is an actress on that show that is stunning. That is almost like infuriatingly hot on 30 coins.
That's a good pull quote. There you go.
All right. Okay. So yeah.
Holds
Last
up,
of the
man.
Mohicans.
Holds up. I was glad to revisit it.
Oh, good. And we are going to go from Last of the Mohicans to the Night of the Creeps. Maybe it should just be of the movies. That's our theme. Yeah, I'm glad you had a good time revisiting this film. And I will be listening to the score on and off all week.
It's a great score,
Spotify.
which definitely got used and not as many. Because I don't know if you saw that conversation I was having with Seppenwall, some people last week on Twitter about, scores that got used a lot in trailers. And this one wasn't as much.
Come
as
See the
some.
Paradise got used the most.
Come See the Paradise is the one I brought up. Dragging the Bruce Lee story, someone mentioned it as like, yep, that's a big one.
Aliens.
But this one got it. This Alien's a big one. This one got a little bit. I remember this one did get used a little bit after the fact.
Yeah.
It's a great score.
That's weird too, because it's so tied to this movie and that sequence that I'd be like, that's wrong.
Yeah, but there's trailers that use Beetlejuice's music. I mean, there's trailers.
Dumb. I don't like any of this. I don't like this conversation. I want this podcast to end.
Okay.
All right. Until next time, everything is possible, but nothing is real. And Shakma.
Shockma.
Shakma!